Let's move on to the defence then. I think a department whereby a lot of people are expecting Liverpool to definitely do some business, and a lot of the early links and the early rumours have been with centre halves as well. There's obviously a lot last summer when you couple into the fact that Joel Matip's obviously moving on in the next days, really, his contract expires from a Liverpool perspective. Do you expect us to do a little bit of business in the centre half and the defensive department first and foremost? And also in terms of names, obviously Mark Gahey continues to be linked. Lenny Yoro's emerged in recent days. He's come out of the woodwork a little bit, although I think Real Madrid appears to be his most likely destination. Levi Colwill's another name that won't go anywhere. And there's also been Ricardo Calafiori has been very sort of recently linked. James Horncastle, obviously Serie A expert, suggesting Liverpool have made inquiries on that front. So how do you see it, and do you expect us to be busy in there?
Yeah, I think in terms of first team signings, obviously we touched on number two goalkeepers there, but in terms of for the actual first team, I think the one that's most likely is a defender. Obviously, we'll come on to the midfielders shortly, but I think if Liverpool are going to make a big money signing this summer, it will be for a centre half. Obviously, Joel Matip left the club at the end of the season just gone. And you sort of thought Liverpool were a defender light all season, really, especially when Matip got injured. Obviously, Jarell Quansah was excellent, but it did feel like it was sort of a Canate or a Van Dijk injury away from a total collapse in that position. Obviously, there is Joe Gomez as well, who barely played a minute at centre half this. Well, I never know whether to call it this season or last season, but yeah, yeah. I mean, in terms of names, Mark Gahey seems to be the one that is popping up the most with the most realistic links for me, anyway. Palace will obviously fight to keep him. The problem Liverpool have is that if he continues to play as well as he did the other night for England, then that price tag is only going to go one way. I think Palace want about 65 million for him, which obviously, if England got to a semi or a final with him playing every game, that could easily have another 10 million on it by the end of the Euros. But Mark Gay's been a very good defender for the last few seasons for Palace. He's not. I don't think he's left-footed, but he plays on that side, which obviously helps. He's good on the ball. He seems a good character as well, which I think Liverpool would like. And obviously maybe Trent will be in his ear at this camp, and Joe Gomez as well, sort of saying, come to Liverpool, but they will face competition from other clubs, of course, and obviously Manchester United will be one of them. I think Tottenham are also keen as well, and I'd be surprised if there's not a few other clubs as well. The United one's interesting because they obviously bid for Everton's Jarrad Branthwaite last week. Obviously, I cover Everton as well, and Everton are very, very. They're very sure that they want to fight to keep him, and the bid that United made was sort of laughed at Everton. But it's a case of if United sign Branthwaite, they're obviously not going to sign Gay as well. Well, you wouldn't put it past them then what their transfer policy's like. So it's sort of you almost want United to sign Branthwaite, and it sort of opens a door for Liverpool to get Guehi. There's obviously other targets as well, as you mentioned, Lenny Yoro. It looks like he's heading to Real Madrid, but Liverpool are sort of keeping tabs on him just to see what his situation is. I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, someone actually texted me his name saying, just keep an eye on this guy. And I thought, I've genuinely never heard this guy in my life. But he looks like a real prospect. And it's one to keep an eye on, if not one to realistically expect to happen. But it's just one to watch. And then Calafiori, as you mentioned, obviously played for Italy over the weekend, looked really solid. He the interesting one with that is that his manager from Bologna is obviously going to Juve, and it's whether he can tempt him to come with him, Thiago Motta. So there's a lot of moving parts with these. There was obviously the sporting defender, Inacio was quite heavily linked, and I think Liverpool were keeping an eye on him, but his name seems to have died down. I don't really think that is one to watch anymore. Obviously, these things can change. And there's Jean-Claire Todibo was mentioned quite a lot last summer, but Again, I've not really heard his name too much recently. So looking at that, I think Gueye looks the most realistic, but there's a long way to go of any of these. So we'll just have to keep an eye on what happens. But Liverpool's certainly interested in signing a defender this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just on that then to sort of round off, you just said it there, really, I guess, but it does feel like that is the priority. I think it's fair to say that defensive department, and I guess profile-wise, you touched on the left-sided element. Do you think that falls into it as well? There will be certain boxes that need to be ticked, and there's a good chance that being a left-sided one is one of them. I'd say.
Yeah, well, I went to a Feyenoord game actually to do a thing on Arne Slot, and I noticed how his defenders really sort of pushed forward, and the left-sided defender was almost tucking into like a almost like a left back role in possession, and it did make me think like you can't really do that with a right footer, so he will be keen for a left footer, but when you look at the market, like how many good left footed defenders are there? Obviously, in an ideal world, Jarrad Branthwaite's there, but obviously Everton wouldn't sell to Liverpool in a million years. So um, it's hard, but yeah, there's boxes to be ticked. I think he needs to be good on the ball. He needs to be that sort of age profile where he can improve at Liverpool and be coached. It'd be interesting. I think they want someone who can challenge Kanate in terms of that starting position. Obviously, Quansah could be. I think I said last time I was on, Quansah could save Liverpool a hell of a lot of money in the long run because if you were going to buy a Jarrell Quansah, if he played for another Prem club, you're talking 60, 70 million already. So it's definitely the priority, and there'll be boxes to be ticked. But Liverpool are only going to deal at that elite end of the market anyway for these defenders. So I think whoever comes, it will be a good defender.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on to the midfield then. A lot of talk really around the midfield. Obviously, we know the big midfield rebuild was done last summer. A lot of people still head into this transfer window suggesting there is a possibility that we re-enter that market for the number six. So obviously we know how it played out with Moises Caicedo. Romeo Lavia was an ongoing saga that seemingly lasted the entirety of the summer before it came to its conclusion. Liverpool, I don't want to say ended up with, but signed with Suaru Endo. I think it's fair to say he wasn't the first choice. Do you think it's possible Liverpool head back into the market for a midfielder for the out-and-out number six that they wanted in the first place?
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I don't think it's a certainty, is what I'd say. I think that they're sort of in a position now where they signed Endo. Like obviously, Endo had his merits and he was scouted very well and he came up very well on the data. But they signed him almost as like they needed a number six. Whereas now, I still think they need a number six, but then they're not going to sign one for the sake of it. So I think it's going to be if the right deal's there and if the right players there, then they will do it. But it doesn't sound like we're going to just go all out to sign a number six. So it's one to keep an eye on. And obviously, last summer we know at this stage of last summer no one really expected Henderson or Fabinho to leave. So that really accelerated the plans. And that's why they went so hard to get Caicedo or Lavia. And obviously, we know what happened with both of them. So it's just a case of seeing how the market plays out. They'll be certainly monitoring a number of targets, but at the moment, there's none really at an advanced stage. I think obviously everyone linked them with Edison of Atalanta, but I don't. Well, as far as I'm aware, he's not like near the top of the shortlist at the moment. Obviously, that could change. So I wouldn't get too excited on him at the moment, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the next month, really.